Hello, everyone. Welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. It's episode 809. This is being recorded on February 5, 2025. I'm Sebastian Peak.
Still Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
It's going to be a great show this evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brett Van Smurber.
And I'm Kent Burgess.
You know, last week I did jump cuts between each person as they introduced themselves because they were so nicely, boxed in and widescreen. But Brett's back. If you didn't notice from the intro where he introduced himself, it was not a recording. He is not an android.
This time.
He does look a lot like Steve Jobs. He's like a Steve Jobs cosplayer tonight.
I am. I'm trying.
Mock neck.
Trying it out. Thank you. I always wear a mock turtleneck to the show. What are you talking about? It's my usual attire.
I thought you usually wore like ringer tees and...
That is true.
Okay.
I can't lie, at least not at this particular moment.
He kind of reminds me of an Affliction guy, you know?
No, I don't.
You can help support PC Perspective and this podcast by going to patreon.com/PCPer. We want to give a big thanks to Gavin L., John T. Yeah, and Gregory W. Your last names may be a mystery, but your contributions are not.
Are not. They're crystal clear. Their support is crystal clear. Just want to remind them of that I see you. We all do. We all see you.
The L in Gavin L., that could stand for love, PCPer.
It could.
John
and the
T could be thanks, guys.
It could.
Here's
and
a
the W
something.
Is silent. The W is silent.
is for win. Winning. We're winning. And yeah, I will never do that again. Sorry.
No, it's good though.
Josh, it's time for the food segment. Take it away.
Hey, I actually had a burger this week. Even though last week's was not good, I'm giving it another chance. I mean, we got a lot of years behind us that, a lot of good memories, a lot of good burgers. And so I heard what's that?
They cooked this one?
They did.
Good.
This one, I better get my phone out so I can remember what exactly was on it and what it was called. I should be prepared for these things, but you know what? I'm not. This one is called the Pastrami Mommy. A single patty topped with red pickled onions, pastrami, Swiss cheese, pickles, and horseradish aioli. So it's kind of like their own version of a Reuben, but with horseradish aioli instead of Thousand Island dressing. And as you can see, the fries were nicely cooked. They didn't season them as overly seasoned as they did in the past. I asked them specifically, so that was nice. Overall, it was kind of an outstanding burger, and I decided to eat it there instead of having it squished and wrapped up in paper bags. And so I just had a nice little lunch by myself at their bar, and it was pleasant. And yes, the patty was cooked. I had told the owner last week. He gave me a refund on that one, which, again, much appreciated. And apparently, this was nicely done. Can't complain. I mean, I could, but there's no need to.
Let us move to the PC Perspective news desk. And our first story, it's a rumor. It's a report. It's from videocards.com. The Radeon RX 9070 XT and 9070 reportedly launch March 6. Now, we already have confirmation from none other than Lisa Su that it's coming early March. So this makes a lot of sense. So March 6th, there's going to be a launch event, apparently, later this month.
Let's launch a video card.
Yeah. Hey, we kind of hinted at it at CES because they mentioned RDNA 4, but they didn't show any cards. Well, it's finally going to be happening 2 months later. Josh, I know we were talking earlier on Twitter. I am not completely convinced one way or the other that this is monolithic or chiplet.
I mean, all the shots that they have of RDNA 4, it's a large monolithic die. And somebody did get a measurement off of somewhere. that it's 390 millimeter square, so or
So
approximately.
Josh,
Yes.
if the current, what was it, the 7900 XT
Mm-hmm.
is 304 millimeters squared for just the GPU portion, and then overall it's over 500 millimeters squared if you count the memory. So at that point, does 380, 390 seem that big, considering it also has to include the memory? Or no, I guess it is.
Yeah, it's
the
still
memory
pretty big
controllers.
because remember those memory controllers were 6 nanometer, right? And the GPU itself was a 5 nanometer derivative. So now it's at 4, which is slightly size optimized. And you've got a 256-bit bus instead of the 320-bit. Wait, 384-bit bus of the full
the XTX was
7900
380.
XT.
Yeah, the XT is just 320.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference between the XT and the XTX is that it's got fused off portions on the die, should be the same die,
Right.
and then it's got 5 active memory controllers rather than 6. So when you're looking at that, it's still a pretty big chip overall as compared to the previous generation. So that really kind of bodes well for the performance that we're kind of looking at it, because not only did they improve their compute units, but they now have dedicated ray tracing functionality. They also added in, I think, tensor cores. We haven't gotten all the information about it yet. It'll be nice when we do, but it's starting to shape out. I mean, they've kind of been real conservative with how they say on a graph where these cards are maxed out at in terms of performance, and with the 5080 being a generationally unimpressive product as compared to the 4080, there are some people thinking that it's going to be not up at that level, but it's going to be closer than they think. So we don't know what they're going to charge for these yet. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this doesn't compete with the 5080. This is a 5070 Ti competitor card, right?
Maybe. Could be a little faster.
Wasn't that what they were aiming for, though? Was 5070, 5070 Ti?
Yeah.
Because if this was 5080 performance and significantly less expensive than $1,000, I don't think they would have had to wait 2 months to work on driver optimization and a pricing strategy.
Yeah, I don't know why they did what they did, but there are a few things that, we had talked about this previously, but another thing, what right now is NVIDIA handling in terms of negative press? Yeah, availability of the 5000 series is awful.
No, the availability, that's the story with the launch. It has nothing to do with it's the same price as last gen mostly. Unless you're buying 5090.
Bricking stories coming out.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had that happen with the 5090 yet, but
no. I would assume your experience has been good, but others they've had some situations, perhaps with PCIe 5.
The rumors are that a lot of the brick and mortar stores have already received significant shipments of these cards, and they're just sitting in the back on shelves.
Oh, the 9070s. Yes.
Correct. And you've got to think that if they're truly aiming to take over this, the new mid-range space, which is between $500 and $800, which, 5 years ago, if you were looking at that, you're thinking these are high-end cards. It's not mid-range at all. But we live in a whole new world where now 500 to 800 is kind of mid-range, and anything above that is high and ludicrous. But if they're going to hit in that soft spot, they would want to have as much product on the shelves and available as possible. And given their partners 2 extra months in producing cards, instead of just having kind of a paper launch where, you've got less than 5,000 cards worldwide. I mean, they're avoiding a lot of that bad press. they get to see exactly what the 5070 Ti is going to be providing in terms, and you know, maybe they can somehow adjust the performance. I'm unsure, you know, what they can do with all the knobs available with them, or if they would need to actually have a BIOS update to increase the perf. I don't know, but it does give them some more time, and gives them more time to work on FSR4 and drivers, and it's not hitting them because their competition is just not selling that many cards, and you can't get anything over a 4070 anymore brand new because they're just all out of stock.
Well, they're not selling a lot of consumer cards beyond every single one that they can make, because they're selling out of all the new stuff because they didn't make very many. But there's obviously demand there, and I think AMD is, you know, they have a nice stockpile of 9070 because they're not allowed. The retailers are not allowed to sell it yet because they changed the release date. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this all shakes out, obviously. But all they need to do is match, say, 5070 performance at a slightly lower price and be in stock.
And be in stock. Why wait for the other card to maybe come back? You can buy this one right now. Seriously, just buy it. Go out, grab it. Oh, well, someone else is in front of me in line. Don't worry, there's more. If they can pull that off, yeah, that would be very interesting.
By the way, Tech Power Up, this is one of the things that confuses me because they're usually spot on with their specifications in the GPU database. They have the 9070 XT in the database right now. Navi 48, 16 gigs of GDDR6, 256-bit bus. It's 4096 cores. If you look at the information about the process technology, it shows TSMC 4 nanometer, 390 millimeter squared die. But it shows GCD at 200 and MCDs are 4 times 36.6 millimeters squared. So if you believe this, it's just a revised RDNA 3. It's still chiplet architecture. It's 4 MCDs. What's interesting, though, is if you click on Navi 48, their entry for that does not show it being... Well, it shows MCM, actually. It's just all unknown because... There hasn't been an event. There hasn't been an architecture day for media. That we haven't been briefed on anything. So
it's a known unknown.
God, I'm trying to think. I seem to remember somebody.
Okay, outside of the world of MLID slides on YouTube, is there any? There's not been anything official, and then I haven't seen any actual confirmation one way or the other that they didn't just take what they had and improve it and work on driver support, finally release some features like the frame generation technology that they said they were working on. So
it's a lot of mystery.
And this whole like 390 millimeter square is big. It's not big compared to what they had, because if this is about the same performance level as a 7900 XT, which is what their own internal slide was showing, we were looking at that like a month ago, then that was over 500 millimeters squared. So if they're doing the same performance at 390, whatever, that's good. They've improved efficiency, but their own...
Well, the 5090 kind of proves we don't care about efficiency as much as we do performance.
I think Radeon, if you're Team Red and they came out with a card that drew 800 watts from two 12-volt high powers and blew away the 5090, I think you'd be okay with that. But
I'd have to buy 2 PSUs, but apart from that, I'd be just perfectly happy.
Let's move on to the next story. We're going to stick with Tech Power Up here. This is fascinating. I saw this on Twitter earlier. The 9800 X3D, it's not surprising. It's just crazy. It accounts for almost 90% of all Zen 5 CPU sales. If you look at this handy pie chart that they made, it's all 9800 X3D. There's a few others, just because you can't get it without buying a bundle whenever that's available. But that is Zen 5. Like, do you need any further proof that there is only one enthusiast processor, and it's the X3D? So the 7000 series is still out there. Somebody made the point, and I think in the comments, that, Well, yeah, because people are buying the less expensive 7000 series unless they can get the 9800 X3D, which is fair. So when the 7000 series dries up, then the 9700X and 9600X and stuff, those will start selling. It's just crazy. This stuff has been out, it's available, and people don't want it if it doesn't say X3D on it. The only comments I ever see are, where's my dual X3D CCD chip?
Yeah, no such thing.
No, and there never will be, because apparently it doesn't make any sense from a performance standpoint.
No, it's just lunacy.
No, I think the design and how they redid the entire 3D cache and put it on the bottom, which it would have been nice if they had done that in the first place, but they had to go through some design iterations and figure that out. And now that they do, I mean, this thing is just a monster. And unless you're doing super rendering type stuff or video editing, 16 threads is still a lot of threads for just daily desktop and gaming use. So yeah, I can understand why this would be such a popular, because obviously I bought one myself and I still use the 5800 X3D in my main machine. And I don't have a need for anything more than 16 threads because I don't do scientific work. So there.
You're not a thread ripper, as it were?
I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
Josh, are you ready? Is your body ready to talk about financials as we seamlessly transition into the money segment of the podcast?
The money segment.
Investors,
okay, so
take note. Josh, take it away.
Me. So anyway, it was it's earnings week for the last week. Intel came out swinging. So Intel started off the reporting week, and they had a mixed result. I mean, as you remember, Intel was hitting $21 billion a quarter at their absolute height, and then things got pretty grim. And I think that their lowest in the last couple of years was, in the past several months, it was 11 billion they had a quarter, and they posted a pretty significant loss. Well, Q4 was a little bit of a rebound for them. They went up to 14.3 billion, and I think they actually made some money. No, that's non-GAAP. In GAAP, they actually lost something like $100 million, which is better than they have been showing as of late. Issues were, their consumer chips have not been doing fantastic. Their latest launch has kind of fallen flat. I mean, we know that German group that always posts their numbers. I mean, it's like a 9-to-1 ratio on AMD CPUs that they're selling versus the latest Intel. And it's been hard to get the 285K, even though I did see it the other day available for a few minutes. It hasn't been great. Their data center has been taking some hits. Their margins fell from mid 60s, where they had existed forever, till down to 39.2, which is still an improvement over the last couple of quarters. So they're slowly building all that up. They got rid of Pat. They're trying to make things better, and it's slowly getting there. But if you look at the data center, AMD is making as much in the data center as Intel is, and that's pretty new. I mean, data center was Intel's pride and joy. It was their moneymaker. It was the high margins. And now AMD is cut up in between their EPYC and their Instinct. Instinct, for instance, says, I think last year they figured out that they sold something like 5 billion just in Instinct cards themselves. And when you put that and roll that into EPYC, it makes for a big hit. So, Intel has been bleeding market share, especially in the higher level server market, enterprise stuff. And now, AMD chips are the kind of go-to for enthusiasts and retail, even though Intel still is has very high control of mobile. They're still the go-to for all of these guys. AMD has not really released their Strix. I mean, they're getting them out there, but they haven't taken a whole lot of market share from mobile. So, overall, it was a solid quarter for them in that they weren't still bleeding. Foundry is still not doing great, but it is showing life. I think that they've got some customers lined out. 18A is set to be released this summer. Some okay things going on in there. As you can see from the slide that Sebastian, what their Op X is improving. Their losses from that went from minus 134% down to minus 50.2%. That's a big change. So yeah, they're tightening the ship. EUV ramp this year, and they're hoping to break even by 2027 as a foundry partner. Now, we've previously seen, AMD, what happened with Global Foundries, and Intel at this point does not have a Mubadala to help finance their stuff, so it all has to be kind of through them. Nobody is going to touch their foundry after seeing what happened to Global Foundries and how much Mubadala, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, spent on that and lost over the years. So, they're still overall, they still have more market share than AMD for all CPUs combined, but AMD is catching up. And speaking of AMD, we can talk about their results. So let me flip this page. Even though AMD is still the smaller company, they are getting up there in revenue, $7.6 billion, which is beating Wall Street estimates, up from last quarter, almost 800 million. So 6.8 billion up to 7.6 billion. And last year in Q4 2023, they were at 6.1. So again, another 1.5 billion growth. If you think for many years, AMD kind of was stuck at that 1.2 to 1.5 billion per quarter. And when you have year-on-year increase of 1.5, that's some serious chips. The strength, of course, Epic and Instinct. Instinct is growing. They didn't put any numbers going into this next year what they want to do, other than they reeled in some of the dates for some of the higher level Instinct cards. From like second half of 25 to mid year 2025. They have solid amount of partners that are actually using these cards. Data center and enterprise is just booming for AMD. They're selling a bunch of Epic chips. Their client side also, they're selling a lot of desktop chips to a wide variety of not just retail, but a lot of hardware partners. Their mobile is getting a kick in the pants as well this year. The Strix stuff that's coming out looks extremely competitive. And really solid graphics performance as well that they're promising kind of across the board. Their margins, as compared, is 51%. And you can kind of look at Intel and sitting at 39. That's something that AMD, again, has never achieved this kind of margin in the past. They usually sat around 35, maybe got up close to 40, but it has been a steady increase in gross margins. So they're selling a lot of product. They've got some good deals in place with TSMC. Their products are just solid. They're not. They don't seem to have all that many problems as compared to what they were able to put out in the past. Net income was almost $500 million, so $482 million positive, and they had something like $1.2 billion of free cash flow. So this is a very, very successful quarter for AMD. In the next quarter, they're expecting, kind of a seasonal decline of, 6.9 to 7.1 billion, I believe, what they were talking about. Again, the company is showing tremendous growth. They've invested a lot of money in software side. So the AMD ROCm, which is kind of like CUDA, it's improving kind of in leaps and bounds quarter on quarter. So they're investing in that, because if they don't have software, they're just not going to compete with NVIDIA, because so much mind share is wrapped up in that software stack that NVIDIA has. So even though the Instinct stuff performs very well, even against the latest generation of NVIDIA parts, software is still an issue. And, you've got big partners like Microsoft, Google, Meta, that they have the engineers to be able to get around some of these software issues. Smaller guys don't do that. And so they will continue, like, even my mid-sized company I work for full-time, they can't look at AMD cards, even though there are, some significant reasons in price perf that they would want to do so. But we just can't, because that software jump is way too big for, it's no use having our machine learning guys go through 6 months of development to try to get these AMD cards working when they've got work to do now. So AMD had a very nice quarter. Their stock price, of course, was tanked after this because of, questions about Instinct, the drop that they're going to see in this, seasonally slower quarter. But otherwise, company is doing well. Lisa Su, and since Rory Reid and Lisa took over, the company has just hit one after another product out of the park, seemingly, and it's going to be very interesting to see if RDNA 4 will be a breakthrough product for AMD. Yeah. Now, the one thing it didn't cover is the gaming segment. Gaming segment has been bad. Its revenue is like the lowest it's been in a while. It's, some 563 million. And this, of course, consoles, semi-custom stuff. But from what they are saying, AMD, that is their main primary customers, Sony and Microsoft. They have finally sold through a lot of their previous stock of stuff. And so that all should be going up from here on out. And plus, we've got refreshes from Sony already going on, and rumors are of something else coming from the Microsoft side within the next 2 years. So this is all money that they should be making, and as well, I can't remember if the 9070, the RDNA, I think it's all part of that as well. If it is successful, then it should be contributing to these numbers in the gaming portion of AMD. Yeah.
Sadly, traditionally, the better AMD does in the market, the worse the market's them. This does seem to be historically accurate.
Yeah. Well, and the deep seed. What's that new AI thing?
DeepSeek.
DeepSeek. When that came out, NVIDIA took a hammering, and
yes,
it really didn't need to, because even they're saying, hey, we trained this on only $5.6 million, and that's absolute bungus.
Sure, you did.
Yeah, I mean, they still in the last couple of years spent billions on buying a compute to be able to get to that point where they could train it much more efficiently. But there is a lot to it that a lot of the basic investors just don't know about. And NVIDIA is going to, they're sold out through all of 2025, all of their high-end parts. They're allocated out and sold out. They will have no supply excess that they'll be able to give out. So yeah, I think, the stocks are being silly, and it's hitting AMD too, which it shouldn't be, but it is.
just reminds me, I saw a comment several weeks ago, but it was about the stock industry, and the comment was, 4 of the top 5 largest companies in the world are tech companies. Stock market advisors might actually want to research what these companies do and what they make and what it does before they start advising and fluctuating the prices like they do.
Yeah,
But lack of industry knowledge hasn't slowed them down in the past. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
No.
It's okay. Chris Minocha in chat said AMD should have taken advantage of Z-Links. Well, they have. And in fact, it's still a $900 million aspect of AMD's sales. And again, they have hit the lowest point on that, and they expect that through the next year to be ramping up. And another person in there said that the Instinct cards are expected to be flat in sales versus the last half of this year. And that's kind of understandable because these Instinct chips are using that COWOS packaging. And again, they are supply constrained on that kind of packaging. So it would make sense that it's going to be flat because they just simply can't get enough space in these packaging centers to be able to get as many cards and chips as they want to. And yeah, I'm wondering if I still think RDNA 4 is going to be monolithic, and packaging tightness, it would be another reason why they would go back to a monolithic design, even though it makes for larger overall die sizes than what they'd usually want. So anyway, ARM, I think they made $982 million. They're almost ready to crack the $1 billion mark. So ARM, of course, doesn't have any physical products that they sell. Yeah, they will throw out some test wafers and get some working chips out from their flows. But primarily they are an engineering company first and foremost, and not a product company. So they have a very wide portfolio of licensable products, as you well know, and they're getting bigger in several areas. I mean, they essentially control or get close to controlling the cell phone market.
Yeah.
Even though Apple, has a license, an architectural license from them. They're getting bigger in enterprise. I think Ampere is getting bought up by somebody, or Altera. I can't remember which one, but they exist in the enterprise with these massively parallel chips that all these guys are making for pretty specialized cloud compute. Automotive getting bigger as we're really getting to closer to fully automated driving capabilities. They've had a good year. Now that they're public again, we can see what they're doing, and they're since they don't have any products, it's hard to talk about margins, but OpEx and all of that you can kind of talk about. And again, it's a solidly run company, and they're not operating at a loss, and they continue to grow. As you can see, mobile is just the biggest thing that they do in terms of royalties, but IoT, they're the go-to. Just because they have a solid software stack behind their product. And unlike RISC-V, which you can, kind of mix and match options and you can break compatibility with stuff by adding a bunch of crap to your own CPU design, they keep their stuff pretty in line and very predictable. So software development is a lot easier than some of the other competing chips around. But yeah, again, 3 different companies, 3 pretty good results for Q4, even though ARM calls theirs Q3. It's that funky quarterly naming that NVIDIA also shares. It doesn't make any sense in terms of actual calendar year. So those are the big three.
The financial segment is over, and it's time to get right back into news. And this is something it's almost like a PSA. Getting rid of those helpful AI answers at the very top of Google searches that take up your entire mobile phone screen, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you eliminate this?
Through the power of vulgarity.
What?
For this
Duck,
one
duck, go.
time, obscenity will save you.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo.
Just
I agree with Ken.
that also works. Yes. You're allowed to swear at it too, if you want. But yeah, if you want to get rid of it, hey, do any Google search and just throw in your favorite pejorative, perhaps an adverb that you're quite fond of. And all of those AI results will disappear. It occasionally works on automated voice machines as well when you're stuck in that sort of a hellhole.
Where's the nearest Frelling restaurant, in other words?
That possibly will be recognized. Sometimes it's a little obtuse. So you got to be, you got to raise your language to a more colorful level.
Fracking.
I thought.
But yeah.
Flark.
Yes. It Smegan works.
I thought Farscape would have been far enough, but okay.
Oh no, we can keep going.
Yeah.
We don't have to though.
No, let's move to the next one. That was a short one. And this one could be as well. From the register, you're going to do what to the feature? Microsoft defines what it means by deprecation. Self-deprecation, I guess.
Well, no, it's more of a, this doesn't mean we've deprecated it and it's done. It's more of a save the date, because we're saying it's deprecated, but it's actually not for a while, because in some cases they are saying that Windows 10 is currently deprecated, but it's not, because it's still not end of life. So they're just sort of making it a little more annoying to try and read through what it is that they're trying to tell you. And let me tell you, Microsoft is very gifted at that already. They don't need to expand, but yet they are. So you would figure that deprecation means that it's done. It no longer is supported. We don't care about it anymore, much like any of your IoT devices. But no, for Microsoft, it just means, hey, by the way, it's on death row. We're getting rid of it soon, so you should pay attention. As opposed to, just sending out notices saying, hey, end of life is coming up, so you should pay attention. We've got to make it a little more obfuscated.
Unless you pay us a little money, then it's kind of like not deprecated for you yet.
Or end of life, it's just sort of on life support for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But only 3 years, tops, unless people keep paying us money, in which case, maybe...
deprecated.
Because the price goes up every year.
Word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
I think it means.
So is 10 still over 50% of the PC OS market?
11 had just outpaced the growth of 10 just recently, within the past...
Like literally this week or last week.
But I thought the latest Steam survey showed that there had been a regression of 11 adoption and more people went back to 10.
The last time that we looked, that was true.
They installed 11 and they went back to 10.
Nope. Okay.
Yeah.
Most people say there's no compelling reason to install 10. And at the time, of course, TPM was holding, a lot of potential 11 installers at bay because they just weren't equipped.
You mean compelling reason to install 11?
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I misspoke.
I was just thinking,
there was no
compelling reasons to install 10 if you don't have
no compelling reason to install 11, and they set the bar just too high with some bits of hardware and potential performance.
And you're appropriately
wearing
the black mock neck, because I feel like a lot of that was just Apple envy, because Apple had made such a big deal out of their platform being so secure because of the Apple security chip, and
that is true.
And then Windows comes out and says,
everybody remain calm.
Operating system is just as secure. In fact, it requires TPM2 just to run.
That's exactly correct. In fact, everyone needs to remain calm about that and just buy it.
Yeah. But I mean, you roll things back 10 years ago, and he's right. There was no compelling reason to upgrade to Windows 10 except for the fact that, apart from very strange people, Windows 8.1 was a steaming pile of garbage. It was better than 8, and 10 was better than either of them, but that was the only compelling reason, was just, you couldn't stand the stink anymore, and they were doing something to Windows 7.
Here's the annoying thing.
Vista broke such new ground, so...
Yes. M in the chat said, doesn't AMD run better on 24H2? Yes. And if you're on the latest hardware, if you're on the latest AMD hardware, like you want that 9800 X3D, you need to be on the latest version of Windows 11. The scheduling
and the latest version of Game Bar, because you should have the Xbox Game Bar installed for a reason. That's
only if you're on a dual CCD chip. I don't bother
the Game
with that
Bar
with the 9800
always
X3D.
didn't make... Yeah.
But yeah, this is the problem, is that unfortunately desirable hardware is going to force enthusiasts to adopt the latest and greatest version of Windows 11, unless you're on older hardware, in which case, yeah, you're fine on Windows 10. And if you're still waiting 3 to 5 years to upgrade your GPU, and say you've got like a 6000 series AMD or a 30 series NVIDIA, and you're fine for a while.
Even a 20 series.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I have to say, I was kind of amazed dragging out the 3090 tests at the 5090 launch. That thing has aged a lot in the last couple of years. If you put it under a demanding workload.
When it was released, it was only, 15% faster than a 3080? But it had more than double the memory. But the actual scaling was not great.
I think it was Black Myth Wukong. One of those titles, I was doing it without DLSS, and I was getting like 11 frames per second.
Oh.
At 3440 by 1440. I mean, all the settings were cranked, but still, you would expect something in like the 30 FPS range, which was what you get with the latest generation. But man, 11, it was appalling that I was getting a lot of like sub 20 results with really high settings in modern.
If I want to do that, I'll play Crysis on old hardware.
Yeah, Black Myth Wukong. There's a couple of games that act like Crysis if you crank the settings all the way up. Next, from video cards, we talked about Radeon a lot. What about the RTX 5070 Ti? That's apparently the next one coming, and there's some embargoes detailed according to this story that it's going to be a partner-only launch. MSRP AIC Press and Influencer Reviews February 19. Non-MSRP. That's going to be every card, so you might as well just wait until the next day. But that's February 20. So we'll apparently be able to read reviews either the day before or the day they go on sale, which is allegedly February 20. And then we will have the AMD event.
Perhaps. Maybe.
Well, I thought they were waiting for 5070 Ti. So,
well, as the rumors say, there's a brief pointer to the next story that XT version of the 9070 is supposed to compete quite handsomely against this particular RTX 5070
I always
Ti.
am amazed by these early numbers because outside of like qualifying samples or something, nobody has a driver for this thing. So how are they getting early results that outpace a 5070 Ti?
It's probably some positive projection
from extrapolations.
Yes.
It's AI.
Extrapolating from extrapolations.
They're using AI to extrapolate.
They're also baking in a 1% improvement per month on the drivers for the new 9000 series.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is a little bit of wishful thinking.
So
here.
it's a lot of extrapolation.
It is. It's MLID. It is. Yep. Which is what I thought was funny earlier when you mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, wait till he hits this story.
Yeah. I'd be more impressed if there were some die shots. No one has actual test results yet. So
correct.
Whether they have
until you do
the card or not. Yeah.
And I hate the card cards. I absolutely hate it. I just don't have the skills to pay the bills when it comes to that. I'm no Northwest Repair.
True. None of us are. Except Kelt. But no, give me something to upgrade my 6800 XT from. I mean, I love it, but I'm getting tired of the poor thing. I even already made the first one that died just before the... Yeah, it is. But Where's my compelling or available option?
The 7800 XT, the 7900 XT.
It's not enough for a generation.
Okay. Then get the 9070 XT and be excited about the improvements.
I'm hoping.
So they are,
and I'm hoping I can flash it up to a 9070 XT. Or no, I'll get the 9070 and I want to flash it up.
No.
Or at least
I
try.
suspect this one is the 4096. It seems like it might be the full fat version of whatever it is. Not be 48.
You mean my old 6900? Wait, why am I not using my 6800 instead of my 60? Would you stop recycling the bloody model names,
even
please?
More numbers.
Well, it's a 69 that I flashed to a 6950, and it lived for a year and a half, 2 years, pretty well too.
6950 to a 6970.
The interesting thing will be the people buying 9070s now, leaving them in the box, and then in 4.5 years, they will be selling them on eBay, marking them as NVIDIA 9070s.
I think NVIDIA, out of spite, will skip the 9000s because AMD did this, because they stole their naming convention. Not that they really did, because, they sort of did, but they had the 9700 20 years ago.
Like I said last week,
down this road too.
Stop using one single digit between a totally different product and a different manufacturer. It's getting annoying.
Hey, Intel has it figured out. They just put the first letter of the architecture code name before the product number. So it's more like a car series, I guess. Like they have the A model. Now they have the B model. So there's the A580, the B580.
Oh, how clever.
AMD, it
sort of makes
be
sense.
RDNA 4, so it could be like RD4.
26 generations.
Yeah.
And not be confused by Intel.
They can indeed.
Intel just adds numbers.
Well, except, that whole I and L thing people get confused with,
Yeah.
Hey, we'll skip those.
Okay.
But we'll do an X, a double X, and a triple X.
All right, let's...
And maybe go back to BFG's naming conventions and do a D and a double D.
Oh, my.
Those were great cards back in the day. Come on.
I thought you were making a joke. Like, wait, I know there used to be like anime girls on cards. What's the double D?
No,
reference?
BFG used to have...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing will ever touch the XFX Fat Boy. Their RX 590 Fat Boy. That was...
The 590 Fat Boy. You have one, don't you?
Somewhere in the stacks of garbage in this basement.
I hope it's at the bottom.
All right.
Any card underneath it's in trouble.
Let us move to Insecurity Corner.
Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
And our first story comes via Bleeping Computer. Netgear warns users to patch critical Wi-Fi router vulnerabilities. Oh no, not more router problems. Seems like every week.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Oh, and WAPs. It's not just routers, it's WAPs.
Who owns these Nighthawk Pro gaming
router?
Who owns these? Who owns these anyway?
I can't imagine.
So these are Wi-Fi 6 access points, the WAX 206, the 214, and the 220. And the Nighthawk Pro Gaming XR1000, XR 500 series. Typical, remote access violations with a carefully crafted URL giving people administrative access and the ability to drop in new code and sort of take over your NAT, your bridge, your Wi-Fi access point. Bad thing. So if you own any of these, again, this is the Netgear Nighthawk series, the XR1000, the 500, and the wireless access points, the WAX 206, the 220, and the 214. Definitely go out and pick yourself up some new firmware and get these things patched real quick before you get owned.
Yeah. The good news is these ones aren't end of life like the last batch we mentioned. So
yeah, these are still in use. Do you though? Because at least the Zyxal ones that have been out of date for some period of time, number of years. There's like 1,500 of them out there that are susceptible. Not one of the stories that we actually had, but just as a counterexample, they're not going to patch those. So if you're actually running a Zixal, go take a look and see if you need a patch, or just replace it. It's several years out of date as it is, and it's vulnerable. Yeah, just toss it. It's one of those, what do you call? Oh yeah, disposable electronics.
Yeah. Be green. That's how it works, right?
Be green. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
Electronics are the modern day version of a clay pot. Because that's what they find in archaeological digs. Remains of clay pottery.
Mm-hmm. Except they're actually digging them up right now to strip the valuable metals out of them. That's just horrible.
They're also pointedly digging them out of ancient latrines, so there's a certain synchronicity there.
Captain Picard was an expert on ancient pottery, just so you know. For some reason, they emphasized that point heavily towards the end of TNG's run.
Yeah, I liked it in the in Generations, where they're in the ruins of the ship saucer, and he picks up that piece of pottery, looks at it, and then just chucks it.
All right. Next, sticking with bleeping computer, hackers spoof Microsoft ADFS login pages to steal credentials.
They're targeting the businesses. Yeah.
This is specific, isn't it? 150 different targets is carefully crafted.
Yes. And specifically at those that have had single sign-on implemented, often very imperfectly. So SSO is kind of annoying people, but they realize that without doing it, they might actually lose access to stuff and, have to talk to some IT guy somewhere that they just really don't want to. So they'll get this random email from service desk saying, hey, another major upgrade. Email is going to be even more secure, probably even run a little bit faster. Just click this button, throw in your credentials, which look exactly like Active Directory Federated Services, with the URL is spelled right, but because ASCII is weird, that's not actually a proper couple of letters in there. And boom, they have logged in. The best part is they've linked it in to the Microsoft Authenticator, so it will send a notification to the phone. So that now they have, for MFA. So now not only do they have your email address and your password, but they've got a captured, what's the word? It's not a cookie, but a captured token from that SSO authentication, which does not expire in the time you think it should. Thank you, Microsoft. And are able to use that for a lot longer than you'd really want them to.
So these bad actors are standing by, like, are able to immediately take advantage of the limited lifespan. I mean, it's not really a long time, but it's longer, as Jeremy was saying, it's longer than maybe you'd like. But they're able to immediately take advantage of that and hijack your session. And they're targeting users in education, in government, and these types of organizations, healthcare. Right now, they're specifically crafting these, and they have built ADFS single sign-on logins that look so much like the organization's logins that they're targeting. It appears legitimate to these users. So if you're potentially working for one of these entities, and practically hundreds of thousands of people do, although with the government maybe a few less every day. But anyway, the point is that you may be looking at one of these emails that look totally legit. And they're coming in, they're grabbing your session. You may not even know it. They're planting things inside your account, They're trying to traverse using your credentials. They're giving themselves a backdoor to log back in at any time, etc. And you may not even realize that you've been owned. So if this has happened to you recently, or you're potentially going to be seeing this soon and work for some of these organizations, like probably hundreds of thousands of people do, look out for this sort of thing.
Oh, it'll spread.
Protect yourself. Yeah.
As it starts bringing in money, it will spread. And my God, they're using a VPN to obfuscate. There it is. About time, Sebastian.
There it is.
They're using a VPN to obfuscate where this attack is actually coming from, where the actual payloads are going to, where the server is being hosted, because it's bouncing around quite a bit.
They're actually using private internet access, or PIA, as it's commonly known in the industry, to obscure the fact of where they're coming from, so they can hide their in and outlet on the network. So you can't actually track them back to their home base as easily as you could. So they're smart actors. They're smart actors and nefarious. And watch out, you could be the next target.
You will be sooner or later.
Thanks for the 2-up, Sebastian. Much appreciated.
Yeah, it's more efficient this way, because just if I throw in the occasional graphic, it's just the two of you talking. And by the way, Brett, I have to say it's great to have you back. This segment felt empty. I mean, Jeremy does his best, but it's just not the same without you taking absolute clear. You take delight in this stuff. Your eyes light up. You have like a spring in your step, and you're an enthusiast.
This sort of issue is things I have to deal with on a regular basis, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Another bleeping computer story. New Microsoft script updates Windows Media with bootkit malware fixes.
I mean, this is sort of a good news thing in a way. Microsoft is attempting to fix the Black Lotus issue, which is a UEFI bootkit issue that can bypass all the secure boot and protections that they have at that level in order to gain really low level control.
Got it for forever.
Yeah. And you really will have a difficult time getting rid of it until you kind of maybe take that motherboard, fold it into a tidy little square and throw it away. I mean, that really will eventually, that'll take care of this problem. So what they've done is they've come out with sort of a new check with a new local certificate that they need to be able to sort of sign. They're calling it the Windows UEFI CA 2023 certificate. But if you have boot media that you don't use very often, or that you boot from infrequently, it's essentially about to be left behind and it will no longer be bootable. So what Microsoft has done is they've provided this PowerShell script that allows you to sort of quote unquote bless boot media with this new certificate, so you'll be able to continue to boot from it. And this is about to happen. So if you have things that you don't boot from very often, you might want to grab this script and bless your boot media with it.
Or things you boot from often, because they may not have that cert either. And
either way,
unlike AI, this will be actually off by default. You'll have to turn it on in the security. After the security update comes out, from what I understand, it's now an option which can be turned on. It's not automatically turned on, because unlike AI, no one cares about security.
Ouch. You mean Microsoft doesn't care about security? Ooh, I said the quiet part out loud.
Finally, in Security Corner, this is from PC Mag. This AI granny bores scammers to tears.
Oh, it's a great use of AI. So they've trained this AI bot to essentially keep scammers on the hook on the phone, talking in circles while the scammer is trying to extract information or get this person to sign up for something or turn over administrative control, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just a way to kind of keep them busy, not bothering real people. This is an excellent use of AI. What say you, Jeremy?
Yes, finally, that someone's come up with a very good use for AI. And I apparently, like, some of the quotes are great. Like, one was passed, this is over the course of 40 minutes. And it's not just a single scammer. ended up being passed to 4 different callers. So you've tied up 4 different callers for an average of 10 minutes where they can't call anyone else. And it's stuff like, well, you need to download the Google Play Store. Did you say pastry? I'm not really on the right page for pastry. But, oh, look, I would like to help you. This is beautiful. This is what AI is supposed to be for. Because it's probably, if not now, very soon, an AI on the other end.
That was what I was going to say. We're this close to AIs battling each other for scamming supremacy.
However, that will train them both to be much better, and that could be dangerous as long as we get the light side ones and the dark side ones trained to the same level. Otherwise, if you let the dark side ones go...
We're on the precipice of Terminator as usual, so, whatever.
Yeah. Matrix.
The Matrix. It could be.
Just pick your apocalypse.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be, machine uber alles. So, Matrix / Terminator kind of thing, whether it's kinetic or whether it's mental,
I'm sorry. All of the world's wealth is owned by this old Xeon computer that ended up with a really powerful HPC card attached to it.
And it's in Josh's basement.
Just traded everything and owns it all through the stock market.
It is time for gaming quick hits, and let's all hope that they are quick. First, Civilization 7 reviews have arrived. Are they good? I haven't heard anything.
I'm torn here because the Ars Technica reviewer essentially said he loved Civ 4. That was the pinnacle. He tried Civ 5 for a bit. It was okay. Civ 6 couldn't stand. I'm similar. Civ 4 is the best Civ game that was done. However, he's saying that with a couple of tweaks, this could actually perhaps match Civ 4. So they've incorporated a lot of the things that you've seen in other of these types of games like Humanity, where there's ages and you're picking traditions to follow with various benefits to them. They've dumped workers. Everything is done from within the city interface, except there are cities and towns now, and towns can't build units or specific improvements, but they're specialized in certain ways to give bonuses to your whole Civ. One of the things they did do was apparently with the use of a commander type unit, which has been around for a while, you can stack up to 4 troops in a single hex. It's not quite the Stack of Doom, but it's much better than later civs trying to move 20, 30 units individually around in hexes and, oh crap, that archer sort of jumped into the front and I didn't mean to do that. It gets frustrating. It's not fun. The way that they hid a lot of how the economy works and that in the past 2, not fun. So the reviews have been mixed, but generally interesting. Some of the people that didn't like it so much because they loved the previous 2 games. I don't know. I'm a sucker for Sid, so I went to Fanatical. We'll talk about that very soon because it's 12% off there. I am not doubling the price for the super awesome one, but yeah, I know it's inevitable, so I was going to do it, and I'll try this after the podcast is over and see, just because, honestly, I want another Civ game to love, because I love Civ 4, I love all the mods, but, I'm Steam lies, they say I've only spent like 800 hours, it's probably more like 1,800. On the other hand, there will be patches. It comes out February 11th, but there will be immediate patches after it because they didn't do stuff like 8-player multiplayer. They didn't include teams in multiplayer so you could gang up against the AI. There's a couple of, very big things that Firaxis seems to have missed. But I'm really hoping that this one is going to suck me back in for one more turn.
I'm sorry to say, but I got to check. Oh yeah, I'm not muted. Civ 2 is the best, and there will be no.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah. That's the game. I played a lot of Civ 2. And, I got Civ 3, Civ 4, Civ 5, Civ 6. And nothing still was, hooked me like that one.
Okay, no, Civ 2 was a lot of fun. Civ 4 really did get me, though. They're like Star Trek movies. You don't want to watch the even-numbered ones.
Hey, I like
Maybe
Star
this
Trek
one will
3.
buck the trend.
All right, fight me. I like Kirk going rogue
fine.
and them stealing the Enterprise.
And plus...
how can you tell when Kirk goes rogue?
That's true.
The guy from Taxi being a Klingon.
Yes.
So, Kirk, you won't give me the Genesis device, eh? Right. Well, okie doke.
Let him go.
No! You haven't read Hamlet until you read it in the original Klingon.
Sorry for yelling.
Lutz!
I was just waiting for him
Lloyd, we love you.
To proclaim that a Klingon disruptor cannon could emit 1.21 gigawatts.
They missed.
All right.
Target that explosion.
You had it up there briefly, but Fanatical does have all versions of the upcoming game for pre-release at 12% off right now.
Who says you can't buy a Founders Edition? They've got it right there. It's not a graphics card, but it is the Founders Edition if you want to go that high. It's normally $130.
Yeah, which is essentially twice the price of the base game.
Yeah, the base game is still 12% off. You can get it for $61.59 if you buy it through here.
Straight across the board. Mm-hmm.
Every penny counts. Unless you're, a billionaire, and then pennies are just a hindrance.
Pennies.
Yeah. Well, no, then other people's pennies count.
Yeah, I guess if there's enough.
Okay.
It's a rite of passage, it seems, to get Doom running on as many things as possible. And some programmers, they, calculators, maybe like a refrigerator, I don't know. But here we have it running on, of all things, an Apple Lightning to HDMI adapter. And at first I thought, oh, this is BS. How could it possibly? But no, that's actually a little SoC in there with a simplified version of iOS.
There is an SoC there.
They have to compress the video. So, by the way, if you're using one of these things, Apple's compressing your video to get HDMI to work over a Lightning connection.
What?
It's wadding it up. It's literally wadding it up.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
WAD.
I see what you did there.
What does that acronym stand for, by the way? WAD. Is that just the extension, the WAD file?
I mean, it is the extension, but I don't know what it stands for. I don't know.
Right.
World.
I'm sure it stood for something at the time.
World and Doom.
Yep. I don't know, but this just adds another.
Where's all the data?
Doom on everything.
I had to Google it.
Oh, where's all the data?
Where's all
the data? Oh, there it is. There it is.
It's on your Lightning connector, apparently.
Yeah, this just adds yet another chain to Doom on everything. So thank you, anonymous programmer, for bringing us Doom on a cable.
Yes.
And it's the wait is over because Breakout Beyond is here. Now, 50 years ago, Breakout launched in arcades. But now there's a sequel.
Finally.
Not yet. Next year, 2026, the arcade classic Breakout will celebrate its 50th anniversary. This is a story from, I think, GameSpot or something.
Yeah, but it's coming to like PS4, PS5, and Xbox, and even the Atari VCS, even the Switch and PC will be
and
like
mobile
horizontal, probably horizontal Breakout with multiplayer and side scrolling, and it's going to get nuts. People have been waiting 50 years for this, or have they? Well, it's been 50 years anyway.
How am I going to play that without the little spinny wheel on the Atari 2600?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
Breakout
Logitech,
was the game.
Listen to us. We need a new
we need
controller.
We need a 9-pin adapter for Atari 2600 to modern console. if we could pause here, I would like to introduce one more thing.
I guess that means it's time for Picks of the Week. Josh.
You're looking a bit dim.
This is an oldie, but it's a goodie, and they keep updating it. NVIDIA Broadcast app. Apparently, it just had a new iteration released, fixed a lot of bugs, and it works really, really well. So if you have a loud keyboard on the podcast, you could do NVIDIA Broadcast, and it'll take that out.
Well, why haven't you?
They improved the blurring, so you don't get that kind of high quality area versus blur around your hair and stuff like that. So all kinds of things, and plus they've got that crazy eye deal, which is a little freaky.
It's creepy as hell.
That is, eye contact thing is creepy.
Yeah. But they just keep on improving it, and it's still free if you've got a NVIDIA card. And if you don't have an NVIDIA card, Monster Hunters West, is that the new one? They actually released a benchmark, and it's got the full ray tracing knobs and buttons. So it's kind of like Wukong's benchmark tool. They have one for the Monster Hunter, so could be a new deal. Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm going to try that after I get done with the
50
podcast.
gigs.
It's 26.3 gigs.
No, that's not bad.
Not horrible. Yeah.
All right.
I remember when I used to complain when a game hit a gig.
Well, Hogwarts Legacy had its update, and it was 62 gigs. Adds all in that, more ray tracing stuff and all kinds of fun things. So that's another one I need to look at.
To me on DVDs in the mail, please.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, Jeremy, your pick this week.
Well, there is a keyboard that is relatively good, but it was well overpriced. A bunch of the reviews said, hey, it's got Cherry MX Reds. It's got a very nice magnetic wrist rest on it. But at, $100, $140 up here, it lacks software, it lacks a lot of things that, justify that price. Well, currently at Memory Express, it is on sale for $49.99, which is a very good price if you're looking for a replacement mechanical keyboard because you love the clicks and you like wrist rests and you like, the idea that you don't have to deal with a bunch of software to be able to make the thing run. So do not pay full price for the ADATA XPG Summoner RGB mechanical gaming keyboard. But if you can get it for $50, and if you can find it on sale down south, it's probably going to be even cheaper. That is a nice full-sized keyboard with a numpad, with all of the keys. Although, sadly, it doesn't have a volume knob, so I can't use it for Breakout Plus. But hey, if you're looking for a new keyboard, this is not a bad deal in a week where there were hardly any good deals to be found at all.
Brett, do you have a good deal for us this week?
I do. If you're like Jeremy, and some of you actually might be in some weird way, and you also have a 6800 XT that you're looking to replace, well, Walmart may have the solution for you. I believe they have an accidentally well-priced 7900 XT for $649 right now. Now, if you click into this without this screen, it shows... it actually did not show this at $649. So fantastic news. It's not necessarily a mistake. It's available at $649, which is a fairly nice price for a 7900 XT with 20 gigabytes of memory. If you're looking for an available card at that sweet, well below $800 price point, this may be your deal. And you're looking to upgrade from the 6800 and stay with Team Red.
Who knew that Newegg would be a partner of Walmart?
No.
To sell graphics cards. XR. Gosh, $649.
There you go.
Yeah, that's...
Pick your poison.
No, will they ship my pants?
They may ship your pants. They may
Okay.
not ship your
I
pants.
just shipped my bed. Hey.
I think this price drop might give us a bit of an indication as to the retail price of the 9070 XT.
We can hope.
So you're saying it's going to be more than $650?
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
They probably didn't
This
want
is still going to look like a good deal.
$700 price point on the market.
Yeah. This may still look like a good deal a couple of weeks from now.
I'm thinking you'll see this deal and maybe some other deals as well. That's a great price for that level of performance. Kent.
No. It's an acceptable price for that level of performance.
Hey, you're just salty because you're still on a 6000 series card.
What did you pay for that 6000 XT back in time?
In Canada, it was just over $1,000.
Wow.
So in actual dollars, what would that have been?
Well, I mean, the prices were different then, but it would have been $8.99 at launch.
Okay, so all right.
Yeah, the
This is
outrageous
reasonable
$8.99 when it should have been $7.99 all along, and then later it was.
Yes. Not that I'm bitter.
No, not at all. Kent, your pick this week.
All the latest batch of PC hardware launches have just really left me disenchanted. There have been basically 3 products that have been worthwhile. You can't buy any of them right now, and one of those is way too expensive.
Damn you, Hitachi.
And so I really was struggling for something for a pick of the week. And then I watched 2 of my podcast cohorts reach right beside them and pull out identical floppy disks. And so I really had to think that maybe we should all look at helping ourselves a little bit this week and how to reclaim our lives from hoarding.
Wow, that hits a little too close to home for a couple of people, perhaps.
Well, Kent,
now, should we buy the hardcover
tonight?
or
It's
get
been
the
nice
audio
having
book?
you on the show, and go blank yourself. Please continue.
But
it's not hoarding. It's not hoarding if you've got really cool stuff.
That's true. It's like a museum down here.
Yeah.
That no one will ever visit, and I don't make any money off of.
Yeah, just like it. It's exactly like that.
It was mainly meant as a joke, but more just to the fact that I really am very disenchanted with this latest round of hardware releases. The Ultra series was a huge disappointment. The 9000 series, or the 9000 series Ryzen chips, one of them is a good product, and the others are as far as what they offer beyond the previous generation. The 50 series, the 5090 is really fast, but it's really expensive. The 5080 is essentially the last gen 4080 with a few extra percent. The B580 is really the most intriguing new product I can think of in the last several months, and you can't buy it.
Well, Kent, thanks for the recommendation. I ordered 20 copies of that book.
Giving them away. Random drawings.
I got a shout out to David Schaub in the chat for that. How many copies of that book do we need? 100. And I'll line my wall with it.
We should probably make, every $20 super chat, send us your address. And
yeah, we'll send you an anti-hoarding.
Send you a
inside of one of Sebastian's cases.
Unhoard your life.
All right. I have a pick this week inspired by Kent's pick, but this is not a joke. I actually really enjoy this. This is called The Secret History of Star Wars. Now, this is not some expose. This is just an exhaustive fan-made history. We're talking script revisions, changes in the characterizations through those script revisions, the overall story arc changing over time, how George Lucas became a revisionist of his own history and started. There are so many early interviews and quotes and things that conflict with later information about the actual original Star Wars saga, which was the Luke Skywalker adventures. It wasn't originally going to be about Anakin. He was a separate person. In fact, Anakin was not Darth Vader originally. But anyway, no. It's a very long book. You can get it on Audible and listen to it, which I did. You can get it on your Kindle for $10, or you can get one of those like print on demand things. I think I don't know why it's $35, but I have it on Kindle and Audible. That's how dedicated I am to this. But it's fascinating. It's a little dense, like I said. But I was a kid who had my annotated screenplays book and would reference them and look at different things that actually foretold a lot of what ended up happening with the prequels, especially Episode 3. So if you want to get
or you could
really
watch
nerdy,
the Lensman series.
I don't know.
That's
all.
He cribbed
That's all.
so
Just
much from
super
that.
nerdy Star Wars stuff. And I think that's going to do it for this episode of the PC Perspective Podcast. I want to thank you for listening. Or maybe you're one of those elite 3,000 people who actually watch the finished version of this podcast on YouTube later. You don't just
amazing,
listen to it.
Strong stomachs, all of you.
Hey, it's not bad. It's good. In fact, there's always little things that I add to it. If you watch the video, you'll see some clever edits, some transition effects, sometimes a visual joke or two.
Indeed.
You never know what's going to happen. Plus, there's music. Like this part right now has music in the final version. It's I think it's called "By the Fireplace" or "By the Fireside" or something. It's some YouTube library song.
And we're including all of these features at the same price as last year's model and all of the additionals.
We don't believe in inflation here.
We don't.
You know,
We're including it all. It's all yours.
Oh.
You know,
Except
Brett,
perhaps
and
for
those
a
glasses
midsection
and that
switch.
turtleneck, when you do that pose, I can't help but think, Ashton Kutcher?
Oh!
Hmm.
Do you know where your car is?